Now let's see how to make a less hassle pond for kids. A very simple pond which might not cost much money. The first thing you got to remember is to make a simple pond, the depth of the pond has to be at least 30 to 35 centimeters, and the pond has to be 30 to 35 centimeters wide as well for the plants to get well established, and they need some space to establish as well. And this little pond, you don't have to dig it up. You can just buy it from a shop, and it will just probably cost like about 5 to 10 pounds. Then all you need is just put any 2 plants. It is essential to have at least 2 different plants in a pond because they create a symbiotic relationship between them for their establishment and proper growth. Here I've got a frog bait, which is very simple to grow. You just bring it and you don't have to plant it in a soil. You just leave it in the water. It floats in the water and it grows in the water all by itself. Very easy to grow. Then I've got an iris, which is a pond iris, which establishes really well in the pond. Now sometimes what happens is we make a pond and we usually see that people usually recommend to keep it in a bright sunlight. What happens in a very bright strong sunlight is it encourages a lot of algae growth, and also it's not healthy for the frog bait because frog bait does not like a very strong sunlight. So you will see that the frog bait starts to disintegrate if you keep that in a very bright sunlight. Also, there are lots of pond plants which might start to disintegrate and not do quite well in a very strong sunlight. So the best place for the pond is to keep in a very partial shade or partial sunlight, where it will definitely get a sunlight but not too much of it. Also, because the frog bait spreads very rapidly in the pond, it covers the top layer of the pond and stops the sunlight from entering inside the pond, which means it actually stops the algae growth inside the pond. So the pond is kept clear by the frog bait or any other plant that covers the top layer of the pond. So you finally get a clean water underneath, which is great for any fish or any kind of life that you've got in the pond. And the frog bait does not cost much money. For a couple of pounds you get like about 5 plants, which will fill up your pond within the next couple of months. Also, if you would like to clean the water or replace the water in this kind of a tub pond, it's quite easy and less time consuming than actually cleaning the pond which has been dug up, which actually requires some chemicals to put in for reducing the algae growth. If you've got this kind of a small tub pond for the kids love it. And I've got a little solar water fountain here, which is so easy to install. You just buy it, bring it and just put it in the pond, and it does all its work by itself. So this is a less hassle pond which can be created just within 30 minutes, and all you need is it could be just 15 pounds. So this pond has basically just cost me 15 pounds. Or it might just cost you 20 pounds, but not more than that. Such a cheap way of making a little pond in your garden all by yourself for your kids to enjoy, and bring such a lot of wildlife in your garden with the pond. Because if you've got a pond in the garden, it encourages a lot of other insects as well, including the frogs and dragonflies, damselflies, bees, ladybirds, lots of other beneficial insects which come in your garden and start breeding as well around the pond.